Mr. Repke here, and we're going to be talking about statistics. We're going to go over the mean, median, and mode, terms that you have probably heard before. The interquartile range, I shortened it, IQR, and then we're going to do a box and whiskers plot. Up here we have a list of numbers, and we want to find the mean, median, and mode for this list of numbers. Let's go over definitions first. The mean is the average. And the mean has a math symbol. It's an X with a bar over it. And you should remember how we find the mean or the average. We add all of these numbers up and we divide it by how many numbers there are. In my calculator, if I add all these numbers up, I get a total of 93. And if I divide it by how many numbers there are 8 numbers, I will find the mean. So 93 divided by 8, and I'm going to round to 3 decimal places like we have been doing, 11.625. The median is the middle number. To find the median, they must be in order from least to greatest. And then we find the middle. If I work my way from both ends, I find that the middle is somewhere between 9 and 13. This happens because we have an even number of numbers in my data set. So I have to figure out what's in between 9 and 13. The easiest way to do that would just be 9 plus 13 divided by 2. You can probably do this in your head and figure out that the median is 11. So again, if we find that we're in between two numbers, we just add them and divide by 2. Sometimes when you do the median, working in, when we have an odd number of numbers in our data set, we'll land right on the median. The next term we're talking about is the mode. The mode is the most common number. Looking at this list, is any number more often occurring than the others? Yes, the mode is 9, because there are 2 9s in my list. Now it's time for interquartile range. And the interquartile range is actually just continuing the concepts of the median. If I look at my median, it splits my list into 2 lists. I have a lower list, 4, 7, 9, 9, and I have an upper list, 13, 15, 16, 20. In order to find my interquartile ranges, I just find my medians again. What's the median of 4, 7, 9, 9? Well, the median would be in between 7 and 9, which we can see is 8. And the median of 13, 15, 16, and 20 would be in between 15 and 16, or 15.5. And those are my interquartile ranges. This is how I will label them. I will say Q1, I'm going to write it down here, Q1 is 8, Q2 I got from the original median is 11, and Q3 is 15.5. So again, interquartile range is simply the median after we split it up into 2 parts. The median tells me where to split it, and then I find the median of each list for Q1 and Q3. Q2 is the median. The best part about mean, median, mode, and interquartile ranges is that we can find all of this using our graphing calculator. So let me show you how to do that. Let's look at how we can do this in the calculator in order to save ourselves some time.
We're going to start by pressing the Stat button, and it already has Edit highlighted, and that's what I want to do is edit my list, so I'll hit Enter. And now I will simply enter my numbers by hitting the number and the Enter key. 4 enter, 7 enter, 9 enter, 9 enter, 13 enter, 15 enter, 16 enter, and 20 enter. Notice here that my list is out of order. I got 16 and 15 messed up. I did that on purpose because I want to show you something later on as a feature. So we have our numbers entered. Let's find out some information. Let's go to Stat again. Let's go over to Calc, and let's hit Enter for one variable stats. Your screen might look different than this. It might just say one var stats on your main screen. If so, you have to tell it what list you want to use. Now, since we just started, you're in list 1. So hit second, and if you look above the number 1 key, there's already an L1 in blue. Blue because the second button is blue. So hit second and the number 1 key, and then hit Enter, and you should get this information. And how neat. We see that it's already given us our mean, X bar, 11.625. If I scroll down a little farther, it tells me N, which means there's 8 numbers in my list. It gives me the minimum of 4. It gives me the Q1 of 8, the median of 11, the Q3 of 15.5, and the maximum of 20. So by entering our numbers into our list, the calculator is able to give us all of the information that we need. Now remember how I didn't get all of my numbers in order? The one thing that we notice that the computer does not give us, or the calculator doesn't give us, is the mode. And what might make it easier to find the mode is to put the numbers in order. And here's how we do that. We go back to Statistics, we go down to Sort A, and hit Enter. And now I get a screen like this. And this is probably what your one variable screen looked like. And again, we have to tell it which list. So we're going to pick second and the number 1 for the first list. Close the parentheses and hit Enter. And it tells me that it is done with that task. Now if I go Stat and Enter for Edit, oh look, my 15 and my 16 are now in order. And that's what I wanted it to do. And that might be the easiest way to find the mode for these problems. You don't have to keep replacing list 1 if you want to. You could also go over to list 2. Let's say I had a new list of 2, 5, 9, and 10. Now if I want to find all of my mean, median, mode, Q1, Q2, Q3, I could go Stat, Calc, one variable stats, and this time I need list 2, second, the number 2 for list 2, and hit Enter. And now I have all of my information for my second list. So if you don't want to have to clear all of your lists each time, then this would be the way to do it. And again, I have my X bar, I have my minimum, my Q1, my median, my Q3, and my maximum. It's kind of nice. It puts all of our box and whisker stuff right at the very bottom for us in order. So that's how the calculator helps us solve these problems.
Now that we see that the calculator can easily find the mean, median, interquartile ranges for us, let's go ahead and graph our box and whiskers plot. We start with a number line, then our first number is going to be our lowest number. And as we saw on the calculator, it gives us the minimum. So we start at 4. So I'll count over from 0 to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll place a dot above the number line. The next number I need is Q1, which we said is 8. So our minimum was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's where we will put a dot for Q1. I'll go ahead and label it. The next number is the median. We said the median was 11, 9, 10, and 11 for our median. The fourth number is Q3, 15.5, 12, 13, 14, 15 and a half. Q3. I'm sorry, I forgot to put a Q2 there for the median. And the last number is the maximum number. And the last number is the maximum number, or the highest number, which is 20. So we had 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now to make our box and whisker, we make boxes for Q1, Q2, and Q3, and we draw our whiskers to our minimum and maximum. So now we see that using a calculator, we can easily find mean, median, and interquartile ranges if given a set of data. We knew how to do this by hand, but the calculator certainly makes it faster. Given all this information, we're able to plug it into a box and whiskers plot in order to visualize the data set. We're going to continue talking about statistics. Today we're learning about the standard deviation. And the standard deviation helps us know how close or far our numbers are from our mean. The first thing we need to do for this data set of 1, 2, 4, 7, 11 to find our standard deviation is to find the mean, or the average. We can do this by using the stats list on our calculators, or we could just add up all these numbers and divide by 5, since there are 5 numbers in the list. If we do it either way, we find that my average, symbol is X bar, is 5. So that's step 1, find the average. Step 2, we're going to have to fill in our chart. And our chart has 3 columns labeled X, X bar, and X minus X bar squared. And I will explain these. X is simply every single number from our data set. So 1, 2, 4, 7, 11. X bar is our average, and that's the same for our entire problem. So 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Now we have to follow the formula in our third column, which is X minus X bar squared. 1 minus 5 is negative 4. Square negative 4, and we get a positive 16. Positive. All numbers are always positive after we square them. And again, that's due to the parentheses. If I wrote 1 minus 5 squared, that's negative 4 squared, and that is 16. And in your calculator, you need to have these parentheses around the negative 4 in order to get a positive 16 answer. The reason that we're doing the square is so these numbers are always positive. Let's continue down the list. 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Negative 3 squared is a positive 9. 4 minus 5 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is positive 1. 7 minus 5 is 2. 2 squared is 4. And 11 minus 5 is 6. 6 squared is 36. So to get to this point, we found our average, or our mean. We made our list with all of the numbers from our data set and our average. and then we subtracted them, being sure that we always had a positive answer. X minus x bar squared. The next step is to find the average of the new column. So how do I do that? I add up all of my numbers and divide by 5. And if I add up 16, 9, 1, 4, and 36, I get 66. Divide that by the 5 numbers in my list, and my average is 13.2. And we're almost there. So this is the average that we found of our new column. The last step is just the backwards of squaring. We did this by subtracting and squaring. Now we're going to have to find the square root. So in your calculator, let's find the square root of 13.2. And that gives me the standard deviation. It also has a symbol, which is sigma. It looks like a O with a little curl at the top of it. And we find our standard deviation for this list is 3.633. And I rounded to 3 decimal places for that. So again, standard deviation, find your average, make your chart. List all your numbers, list your average. Subtract, square, and always make sure it's a positive number. After that, we find our average of our new column, and then find the square root of that average. And that gets us to our standard deviation of 3.633.